Yes.
I mean, honestly, I'm always, when you hear excellence, you can disagree or agree with me, it doesn't matter. But I think sometimes whenever I encounter excellence, there's this really beautiful, Deborah, I can't see your face. I am going to have to see your face somehow. There you are. I feel like whenever I encounter excellence, a couple of things happen. First of all, I get elevated, right? I just to the moon. And then secondly, it feels easy. Like everything about it feels easy. My intersection with it feels easy. It feels effortless. And that couldn't be farther from what actually the effort it takes to make the excellence. But I feel like what we just witnessed and saw and heard, I mean, did you hear her voice just kind of just easiest sail? I mean, and this is probably too many years that we could even count or hours that, she's put towards her art so that we feel an ease just coming in. And that's really extraordinary, and I'm so in love with the sound that just came out that we were able to hear, because that is beautiful stuff. That is like excellence, and we're lucky. Thank you so much. That was so beautiful. Go artists, keep doing your art. As we need artists, they need to do their art. I'm really glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation. That's another theme. I say kind of in my personal life, invitation is king. Invitation can also be queen. I just happen to be a guy, and I think king sometimes. I think invitation is really important, and I'm so glad I was invited. Invitation to me, when an invite is extended, when you're being invited, it shows a couple of really wonderful things, and that is one, like I genuinely get all just like melty when people invite me to things, because I think like, oh, you're thinking about me, like consciously you're thinking about me. Like that's a really wonderful thank you. And the fact like, oh, when we want to include you, there's these beautiful things about being human that we get to experience, and I genuinely am very touched, Joanna, for being included and being thought of, invited. So thank you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's just a beautiful thing, and I think we should do it more often. I think we should invite people more often. But that takes us deciding to make the invitation. I think most people like to feel that. They like to know that. They like to know they're thought of, and they would like to be included. So let's invite more people. Okay. Small but big. Another name I came up for today's things, and so I'm just going to share things that I'm in, thoughts, feelings, and there's obviously some visuals that will help go along, and but this is a great space, and you're just going to get Dallas, and that's what it is. Thanks for doing this. This is great. I was thinking of this topic, small but big, as you'll see. Thinking about the dichotomy, the differences in height, or in just as an object. Think of a small object and a big object, and think of how there's this interesting relationship always. But I think there's a really beautiful, interesting relationship between these two things. And then another name for it, I wanted to call it, we're talking about giving little things large considerations. And then I was also like, we could also call it making mountains out of molehills. But like, no, that's not the tone, that's not the color, it's not what we're talking about. However, we could, I like, hopefully, just as I share some things, hopefully some stuff bubbles up. But I like this kind of idea, little things that we give large consideration. And maybe there is like a darker side or like a side to that, but that's not what I'm into today. Today I'm more interested in really looking at little things and the potency that's in little tiny things, and starting to consider largely what those little things could do or can do. A few years ago, I lived downtown Salt Lake City, 3rd South, 3rd West, if you know where Pioneer Park is. Do you know where Bruce's Waffles is? Right, everyone knows Bruce's. So just north, I mean above Bruce's is where I live, so I like this smell wafts through my house every morning. And Pioneer Park is across the street, and it was during the farmer's market. And every Saturday morning, sun's just streaming in. My balcony faces east. I just love it. And one morning, these little birds are plopping around on my balcony, as they do. And this really weird thought just like came into my head, and it was this. I wonder if I can make a bird out of a comma. Now, I don't know where that came from. I just know that I like birds. I like commas. I did some studying of graphic design in college, and since I've done professional graphic design work. So that's when people I was like, I don't know. Like this question just came in. I wonder if I can make a bird out of a comma. Commas are really little things. They're like super little, actually. They're like this big. Like seriously, they're that big. So it was interesting. I was like, huh, a comma. But then as you can see, I was like, I think I can see a resemblance. So I went into my laptop, this very laptop. No, actually, I lied. It was similar to this. Onto my computer, and I put a comma down, that big. And then sized it. And I turned it big. And suddenly I was like, oh, you look kind of nice. And then I was like, well, if it's a birds have legs, drumsticks, legs, drumsticks, exclamation mark, drumstick, yeah, that totally, yes, drumstick, leg, exclamation mark, yes. Oh, wait, okay, it's like, period, oh gosh, yes. Yep, duh, like circle, period, yep, but beak. Well, that looks like a beak, the less than sign, but it can't be that kind of beak, so let's tweak it a little bit. So all the pieces were down. You know all those symbols, but they're mostly this big, most of the time. And in 5 minutes, and he got born. He just sat there, all red and such, against this white screen. And I had a really kind of wonderful but honest moment. I said, hey, you're going to change my life. I had this feeling like this bird was going to change my life. I went to yoga. I came back just super excited, thinking about this bird, because he seems like a gentlemanly type bird. So his name came about. I was like, well, you're red, so you should be Red Fred, because red is in Fred, and that sounds nice together. But you look kind of like you need a last name, so we should just name you from the typeface you're from. Oh, yeah, you were totally Red Fred Bedoni. That's how you say it, Bedoni. Bedoni is the typeface. That is the font. That is when designers create words and letters and shapes that give a nuanced feel, right? You all know this. You've all had to select a type at one point to do for your flyer, to do for your graduate program thesis, you've had to decide that, and you did something about the feeling of the letters. Right? So interesting. Bedoni he's also a type designer from the 1600s from Italy. So you actually see Bedoni a lot all over because it's so common. But we called his name right by Bedoni. So then in the course of thinking of this little new guy, the Niagara Falls just fell on me that morning, which is like, oh, there's like thousands of commas, like oh my gosh, there's gonna be tons of birds. So I had a lot of fun that morning, and I created this group of friends. Their name's the Jolly Troop. Yeah, TROOP. A troop is a group of friends that stay together. A troop is also actually a real, coming together of birds. It's also that, and it's also a military thing. But a troop is a coming together of people, and it immediately was important to me that we have birds that represent all colors, and those birds look pretty snappy together, But if you were to take the green one out, it just would not look that great. So they're all made the same way too. They're all just made of commas and exclamation marks. Their eyes are all the same period, except Stilts. He's kind of zen. He kind of keeps his eyes closed most of the time. And then their beaks are all the same. So this is the vehicle that I'm using to create, but it's all out of just commas and exclamation marks. That's all I've done, right? And I've turned them on their sides. And isn't that interesting? The metaphor is, yeah, we're all made the same, but we sure look different. So I started telling stories with these guys. I'd go take beautiful photographs somewhere in Aspen. Or I would go to New York Public Library. Or I would go to High Mountaintop. And I'd make stories up with the birds. And then I'd come home and start just writing short stories. This is not paid, this is just something I love. It's just like, and this kind of funny juxtaposition of really gorgeous photography with this flat bird in it was just like, it was just doing it for me. You know, I tried to make it more complex. I studied art, I studied fine art, painting, drawing, I can draw, but this was working, and so I just stuck with it. Well, the Jolly Troop and me started having some fun, and at one point I decided to leave the jagged mountains and go to the blocky buildings in New York City. I was there for a few years, and again, just doing some different things, but in the meantime, I was doing a lot of story writing. I was thinking a lot, and the birds would always come to mind, so I just started, the birds became my story makers. So we started writing all sorts of stories. There were sad stories, there were silly stories, there were somber stories. Sometimes it was a mix, it was both those kinds of things at once. But the birds were helping me explore things. You know, so we would talk about, what do we have here? Oh, up in Ralph Waldo Emerson's house. So that's up in Massachusetts. So we talked about transcendence, you know. The twin, that's the upper twin. She's always with her brother, but they got in a fight that day. So she like took off. It's the first time I've ever had them alone, right? But she's at Emerson's house thinking about transcendence. What does it mean to transcend, right? You know, we went to the Louvre. You know, Yvette, she's Parisian. She loves that. And but Yvette was thinking about the Mona Lisa and how her grandeur is much bigger than the actual painting. The painting's only this big, but the Mona Lisa is much bigger, right? So and then we talked about, you know, ice cream. Like, what if you had a fight with your friend, and the rule is, if you were in a fight, you had to argue with ice cream in your mouth. Like, that would kind of maybe put a different edge to the whole thing. So we're just exploring this thing that we do with each other, which is live, and the birds helped. Well, I moved back to Salt Lake City 2012, and on a night in, on a December night, a sister of mine, who I'm really close with, who she lived in Seattle at the time, she called me up and said, "Dal, get on Facebook." So I got on Facebook, and she says, "Type in Mitchell's Journey." So I typed in Mitchell's Journey. I said, "What's going on?" And she goes, "There's this kid, and this is Natalie's little boy." Now Natalie grew up in a similar, she and her siblings went to the same junior high and high school as we did. I hadn't seen Natalie in years. And, but you know, as you do, if you've seen Facebook, there's an image, there's text, and there's this little thing called likes and et cetera and comments. And I'm looking at these images of this boy, and I can immediately, things are serious. Things are really serious. Mitchell's journey was the way the parents were sharing some information about their son. Mitchell was 10. He had Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which is a really rare strand of muscular dystrophy. So I didn't know what that was. I mean, I'd heard of muscular dystrophy. I'd never heard of Duchenne muscular dystrophy. I was like, well, what is that? Well, from what I was able to understand, glean, whatever, you know, this is a form of that the mother doesn't know she has. She carries it. And then when one of the sons are born, one of them will get it. It's a possibility. She had several kids, but Mitchell was the one who contracted this at birth. And from the moment they know the life will be shorter than what you and I probably get to live, meaning most likely 25 years. So I suddenly just was in this whole new space thinking, I was like, oh my gosh, just reading, starting to read. And it felt like I was looking in the front room window of this family's home. The dad, Christopher, shot beautifully. Natalie was in, but I'm just like reading, what are they doing? How are they doing this? And I had one of these moments, and I bet you've had these moments too, where something happens and you just want to help, but you feel really clumsy. And you feel like you have boxing gloves on. Like you want to help, but you feel like you're going to be clumsy. But you really want to help. And that's what it felt like. Because I didn't know. I was like, how do we help this thing? How do we help them? I mean, just what do we do? So we cried a lot that night on the phone, my sister and I. And it was interesting, really beautiful thing. This little small thing, my sister, she goes, you know what? I don't know, Dal. I just had this feeling you could do something. So I called you. So I hung up the phone, and I had this really, for me, special moment, because as I was sitting there thinking of that beautiful boy, and honestly what he's facing in his life, Red Fred came and sat on my shoulder, and he's like, Dal, we need to make a book with him. We need to ask him that if he could write a book for the whole world, what would he write it about? And then myself went, what? Like, that's very assuming, Red Fred. Like, it's not my kid. It's not my son. It's not my nephew. But I think we have to ask. So I wrote the parents, and they said yes. There was exclamation marks. And then for the next few months, I was trying to meet up with them. It was like hopscotch and leapfrog. It was, we've got to do this treatment, so let's try next week. So we tried, and we can't. They want to. And then the last week of February, 4 years ago, his dad texted me. He said, Dallas, we can't do it. I'm sorry. It's at the end, and we're going to go home, and we're going to shut the door, and we're just going to be together. And thank you. We wish we could have done this. And myself, with thousands of people, watched the last few days of Mitchell's life. In that space with that family that was trying to share that, I mean, it's kind of remarkable on a lot of levels. And everyone has a personal space of what, but they had decided to open this up to everyone. And it was very, very human and beautiful, but sad, the way all of death is sad. Mitchell passed away on the 2nd of March, 2013. And that day I had something happened in me. And that was basically, I came to understand that there is a whole group of people out there who live in extraordinary circumstances, which are critical illnesses, life-limiting situations. And we got to ask them, if they could write books, what would they want to write about? So that was the thunderbolt that suddenly just went, and like everything cleared in my head. I don't have those moments often, but everything cleared. And I was like, that's why we have to do this. So I had to find another little first. So I found Nathan glad. Nathan is 10 now. He has osteogenesis imperfecta. This is a scientific name for a thing called brittle bones disease. He's broken over 200 times and has smiled probably every second of his life. The kid is legitimately like bottled up sunshine. I am not joking. So I found this little dude. He was almost 7 at the time. I said, Nathan, hey, let's do this. So this is our first night together, and I wasn't quite sure of how to do it, but we had to do it, and I'm a designer. I can make books, like that's not hard. So I'm gonna do this, but Nathan just has to come up with the story. I'm gonna go and work with him on it. So we met together. That's the first night we met, and actually he had just broken that night because his brother had just leaned on him like this. Like that is how some of the people on our planet live. They live in that sort of reality. This is Nathan's reality. But he was happy I was there. He was totally into it. I'm like, dude, you just like broke tonight. He's like, yep, I did. Anyway, let's talk about my book. So, Nathan picked this guy. This is his font. This is Jat. This is Blue Lightning, actually. Well, actually, his name's Blue first. Blue goes on a significant journey. I ended up going to Nathan's house because he can't get out too much. I said, well, where's this taking place? He goes, probably in the front yard and by the apple tree. And there will be a dark part in the story, but it's actually just our garage. It's like, perfect. So we used photography. So I went with Nathan. He told me where to shoot. He told me where Blue lived in the tree. He told me that the roses in his story were bigger than life. So I was shooting close, roses really close up. And then I just shrunk the birds down, So all of this happens within Nathan's, his home. This backyard where he can go. Because Nathan, although however gregarious he is, he will not be able to climb things. He will not be on the basketball team. It's his reality. But his imagination creates a different landscape. It creates things where all sorts of things are possible. And we had the best thing happen in the world. So as we were getting this closer and closer, and the idea of the Red Fred project came to be, I said we were going to launch a Kickstarter so I can go at this full time. We're going to see what we can do. So when Nathan's book was done, which is right here, it's called Climbing with Tigers. This is book. This is called Climbing with Tigers. We went to a parking lot at Caputo's downtown. I love those guys. They're my neighbors. They said, use it, whatever you want. And everyone donated food, and we had face painters and like 12-year-old breakdancers and cotton candy and hot chocolate, and like 200 people came and stood in line. They stood in line and got their book signed by Nathan. And it was like the greatest night ever. We launched our Kickstarter that night. In 30 days, we reached and succeeded our goal by a miracle, which we were going after $75,000. We ended up raising $86,000 by 1,428 people from all over the world who just got wind of it. Most of the donations were $50. Two people gave me $3,000. Everyone else was below that. So this was sprung out of a really cool spot. This project was really, this is the people, This is so cool. So this brings me to a thought here. A really great quote by Booker T. Washington. And I'm just going to ask you too, after I read this, to tell me a couple of ideas you might have. Success in life is founded upon attention to the small things rather than to the large things. To the everyday things nearest to us. rather than the things that are remote and uncommon. That was beautiful. Any thoughts on this? Yeah, please share if you've got a thought. What do you think about that?
Passion has something to do with it. Things you really care about.
Adding it like passion.
Yeah, you know, because I mean, you care about what you keep around you, the people
Yeah.
and the things, and
Right.
you wouldn't have them there otherwise.
That's a
So
great point.
work from there, you know.
Yep. For the, I like this idea that things nearest to us and the common thing. And I really wonder about that, going back to the thing that's small or little that might be in our lives that we maybe think of it as too small or too little, so we're not maybe looking at it in a way that maybe if we just turned it, flipped it, it would look differently, you know? Because I really do think that's a real thing. I think there are smaller things in our life that are more common, and we're just not looking at them. We've looked at them, that we've decided to look at them the same way versus turning them or flipping them. And it might be totally different, right? It might look different if we turned it. Maybe, I don't know. But I think there's a lot of little things. And the potency of the little thing has great potential. Great potential, right? What time I got? Sorry, I'm gonna check here. Sorry, what time is it? What time is it?
3:48.
Okay, how much do I have?
How much time do we have?
40 minutes.
Wrap at 4?
Just go.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
I
we're
felt
good.
like I have like 30 minutes. I think I've
Cool.
got a few more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you can take a half an hour.
Take what you need to, Dallas.
I'm gonna zoom through one of my other little kids real quickly. This is Colin. He's from Tennessee, Memphis. Colin has a rare disease called mitochondrial disease. That means the mitochondria. Now, I'm not a doctor, okay? I didn't go to nursing school, so I don't know a lot of these things. But what I've even found out is that even in the knowing, when I think I know some things, I still don't know a lot of other things, like really rare diseases. They're actually called rare diseases. So it's not just like, they're actually called rare diseases. That's like a camp. It's called rare diseases because they're so rare, because no one knows about them. I know I'm saying obvious things, but like, there are thousands of people out there who live with such rare diseases we don't even, like the doctors don't even know what to do yet. Mom and dad are just trying to like figure out stuff, you know? Colin has a disease called mitochondrial disease, where the mitochondria in every cell are broken. Do you know what your mitochondria do? They're the energy thing. They're what create energy. His are broken, and they'll never get better. His digestive system is shot. He doesn't get to eat food. He doesn't masticate. He doesn't chew. The family's kitchen is in a garage because smells of food make his body do what bodies want, which is to eat. That he is fed through tubes and through liquid. And that's his life. That is life. That is how they live. And yet they do it. Mom and dad are awesome. They're incredible people. And they're figuring out things as best they can. So this is what I do when I take the kids through it. I say, well, first of all, Colin, you need to study the Jolly Troop. So I give them this big sheet. And I was like, this is what Yvette's like, and this is what the twins are like. You know, here's the cast that you're going to play with. So he gets to study the Jolly Troop. And then secondly, I say, what's your story going to be about, dude? And I put all these icons up. I was like, is it facing fear? Is it about something magical? Is it about finding a friend? Like, what is your story going to be about? Tell me the big one, and then maybe a little one, 2 other ones. So maybe the facing fear, and then a surprise, and friendship, or is it being brave and feeling love? Like, you can tell me what we're gonna do, and like kids start formulating what those are. And I say, where is it gonna take place? Now again, we don't get to go to Paris, even if someone wanted to go to the Louvre, we can't. So we say, well, where close by? Oh, the farm down the road, downtown Memphis, this old basketball court. That's what Zacchaeus told me. He can't play basketball, but he wishes he could. So his bird is going to play basketball. So all these kids have picked different environments, and then I go and I photograph it with them. And then they decide which troopers or who's going to be in the cast. Because I could have one bird with your bird, or I could have all the birds. You get to decide. And then we make their trooper, which is kind of the best night ever. Lastly, and we'll take a look at this, they also give me lessons. So at the end of every book, there are 2 lessons that these kids want you to remember. And that page is worth the whole entire book. So this is his bird, Charlie. This is Charlie's bird. This is Charlie, Colin's bird. We had a real hard time getting the green exactly right. It was so fun. It's so fun to go through this with the process with kids because they're making design decisions. They're actually, it's really important, you know, how they how big are the legs? How much is the body tilted? How big is the beak? Yeah, I mean, we go through it because we want to get a specific bird, right? We ended up calling the book The Green Flyer King, and it was a it was an interesting story because Charlie's from this place called Memphis, which people like Deborah know, where some really cool stuff happens. Blues. And there's 3 kings in Memphis. There's the King of Dreams. Who's that? Martin Luther King. There's the King of Blues. Who's that? Who's the King of Blues? Maybe? B.B. King? Yeah, probably. That was on the spot, totally on the spot. And the King of Rock and Roll, who is Elvis. Like all these 3 kings have in common. And Charlie's from this really awesome place, and he has superpowers. And but he's just like really nervous to show his superpowers because they're weird. And I was like, "What do you mean they're weird superpowers?" And Colin's like, "Well, when Charlie touched food, there was." Okay, well, got to go back, sorry. Colin said his superpower is that when he touches food, it turns to worms. And I know Marvel, like, better than most people. I'm like, I've never heard of that one. He's like, yeah, like, when he touches stuff, it turns to worms, food. But the worms can also turn everything invisible and transport things anywhere. So again, I was like, all right, wow. So the worms would jump on the Jolly Troop and helped him solve some problems. I won't tell you the whole story because you'll have to read it. And I learned some things from the kids. Each of the kids in the front of the books, I write a poem to the kid, dedicated to the kid, or what I learned about the kid, and this is what I learned from Colin. Our gifts really do get better when we use them differently, their best. Like, our gifts get better, but only the way we can do it to get better, right? They get differently better. There's our dude. Artist book signing. You guys, we go back and have a book signing with each of the kids. It's crazy. It's the best in the world.
Awesome.
This absolutely blew me away because he got up in the middle of the book signing and gave a book to this woman who came. Just did it. Not cued, not told to. Just this kid decides to give the book to this one lady who came to his thing. Now I'm going to give you some moments of quiet to think about these little people, these little small people that are doing great things. And I sometimes, you know, I'm going to let you read these, I'm going to let you read their lessons at the end of each book. Here we go. That's Nathan. This is Shay. Jordan. This is Colin. This is Zacchaeus. This is our sweetheart, Delaney. She actually passed away last year. This is Brianna. This is Emma. She's in remission. So, these little kids, guys, and this is Zeke. Zeke, I'm headed to Maryland on the 2nd of April. We're having his book signing. It's already done. His book's called Stop Bully, Go Buddy. This is Megan, and Megan, I'm working on her book right now. Megan's the National Youth Ambassador for the Progeria Research Foundation, and she is talking publicly about this rare disease that only 300 children in the world have. And she is bringing attention, awareness to what is that like. Her book is fantastic, and I'm right in the middle of writing that right now with her. So we're super excited. We're super stoked. We love these kids. We think they have really important things to say because they do. And actually, we all do. You know, we all have something important to say. We've gone through life experiences. But I just wonder if we were to be a little bit more, I don't know, if we could invite that more in with each other, you know? If we could invite each other to share our story. If we could become this person that wants to listen to that and to help each other, help that get out. You know, I think there could be some really beautiful stuff. So thank you for your time. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for letting me share a few things. Thank you. I mean, I can talk forever about these children. They are absolutely changing my life in really extraordinary ways. They're just small people, but they're doing big things. They're doing big things, and you can buy all their books. Actually, we're out of 4 of the titles, but we sell their books. Part of the proceeds from the books we get to send back to the families. We're just gonna keep going. The kids are doing different stuff with their money, which is blowing my mind. Some are funding cancer research, and some are building benches on their schools so that if you don't have a friend, you can sit on this bench. And some kids have sent me money back because they're like, I just really like what you're doing. It's like crazy. And these families, I love them all so much. And everyone who gets to be involved in the Red Truck Project, fans too, friends, you'll just see the most beautiful stuff. So that's it. That's all I have. Does anyone have any questions or?